I am 2 months new to Miami, and I was kind of trying to figure out how I was going to keep cannabis hospitality in my wheelhouse. I built a consumption lounge software. It's a point of sale system specifically for licensed venues. It monitors tracking. If you check into a reservation, you also check into metrics. So it's very forward thinking for what the future of cannabis hospitality is going to look like. And after being here for about 2 months, I realized that there's no one really championing the on-premise piece of THC beverages in Miami. And so now I'm working to basically create a portfolio that is a THC shaman of sorts for bars and restaurants. I onboard them, I teach them dosing, control, make sure that they know what they're serving and why they're allowed to serve it, and just really kind of create the normalization of THC outside of the retail channels, but into on-premise.
Aaron, get on up here. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna crack open a flow here. This is Brez Flow. This is our adaptogenic stack with lion's mane, cacao, black seed oil, L-theanine. And so my name is Travis. I'm with Brez. And we, to Sarah's point, we were actually, I believe we made history as the first cannabis beverage that was sold at a bar in spring of 2023 in St. Pete. And so, and here we are, we are here to advocate, as many panelists have been speaking up here, for you, for people, for people's access to nature. And we're doing that, in our expression of love and heart and passion and our desire to create something that communicates through this universal language, which is a soda can. Anybody throughout the world knows how to pop one of these open without knowing the language that you speak. And we're hoping to create a moment of space within somebody's consciousness, within somebody's soul, so that they can have that space to then actualize and put into action the next best thing for them. And so sometimes, because all begins in mind, sometimes it's just a different thought pattern or a new sense of relief or calm or upliftment or relaxation, or perhaps even sort of waviness, or like a internal, disassociative sense, but like not disassociation to connect out, but to sort of connect inward to yourself more deeply. And that space then can create the next wave of action for you. So that's what Brez is all about. And I actually met Aaron at Cannadelic 2 years ago. So that's Cannadelic is woven into our story as Brez, and so happy to be here.
Thank you. Can you guys tell that he's the product guy? I'm Aaron. I'm the founder of Brez, and I'm honored to be here and with you all. I think that this event is just super dope. Like Travis said, we kind of have an origin here. Thankfully, Dennis, actually, I was just telling the story. He called me up and asked who I was, and Travis overheard and heard that I was working on a beverage, and rest is history. So it was kind of crazy. And last couple of years, we've been on this wild journey with Brez. We were one of the first beverages. We weren't the first. There's a few others like Can and Cycling Frog and some of these others out there. And we were one of the first to like really push it mainstream with a lot of digital advertising, a lot of influencers, a lot of like pushing into the attention sphere, as one might call it. So that helped catalyze kind of the movement, and then we've been very like open and transparent with what we've been building and how we've been building it to help further grow it collectively. It's like when you're trying to do something like this, which really Brez and even the category is kind of an exercise in freeing the plant. Like there's a lot of like naysayers over hemp or whatnot, but really our main goal is to help people get access to cannabinoids through means that aren't silly to go through. Like I don't want to give some guy with a gun my license just so I can have the option of buying cannabis. Like it's crazy. And so to put Travis's point, the beverage medium is so funny because it's so familiar already. Like people, it's one of the first things you do when you're born is have a drink per se, and it's like, and we're taught how to do it through our whole life. So it's a really nice medium for introducing people to cannabis, to having access to it on a regular supplemental basis, and it also doesn't harm your lungs through smoking, regardless if it was cannabis or not. So anyway, super excited to be here.
Awesome. Now you understand why I'm moderating this panel. It's because this is my favorite origin story. So first of all, you guys answered 3 of my questions already in your intro. So I'm really interested because I've been drinking these all weekend, and I guess this question would more be for Travis, since you're the product guy. How do you strike kind of that balance of the functionality, the flavor? What do you look for first? Do you back into the flavor or the functionality? How do you come up with the dosage stuff,
Well, just so this is officially in the public domain, we like to say, taste the experience. And, what that means is in reference to the feedback loop that you get from ingesting herbs, fungi, these botanicals, these adaptogens, you taste them. They have a distinct characteristic flavor. And when you taste that, it's sort of creating this small neurological, stimulation through your whole body that there's something there. My body is about to receive something. That's the first indicator. That's the first wave. And so we like to retain that flavor. And actually we necessarily can't mask the flavor. We don't want to hide what is in the product. We don't want to disguise the herbal tones, right? Because that's the efficaciousness. Because of the efficaciousness. So combine
Focus on pulling in the more pure flavor and profile of the origin plant, and then try to balance those within each other without covering them up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if the microphone heard that, but he's saying, essentially reiterating beautifully what you can tell why we have a great partnership. And that's really been it for Aaron and I. Is Aaron had this unique ability to sort of see all of these textures and tones that I'm throwing out there. And one of our first gatherings was at Whole Foods. We were like, let's go to Whole Foods, man. Sit down, grab a bunch of supplements, try this, try that, try this. What does this taste like? Expand upon vision. And then it's synthesizing that. It's really about what you don't do. It's really a creation through omission, because there's infinite iteration of things to do. So I think it just starts with the effect.
I want to ask that too.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan big believer that brands are built on premise. They're built in bars, and they can grow in retail channels. What I love about your guys' product is that there is a liqueur, a spirit bottle as well. When I'm bringing these products into mainstream bars and restaurants, they're not really as interested in carrying cans. They want to create mocktails. They want to have something that's very unique and special to them. And the fact that these products have a quick onset, they're low dosed, and their flavor profile, kind of what you guys are talking about, blends really nicely with craft mocktails and programs, but you can also crack one open and throw it in a wine glass if you'd like. The ability to have kind of the RTDs and the liqueur model is, I think, a big reason why you guys have taken off.
Thank you.
That's actually a great transition into my next question, which is we've seen kind of a trajectory that's moving kind of away from alcohol, right? And I guess my question is 2 parts. Is one, do you think that alcohol is being replaced by functional beverages? And is that something that you guys are actively trying to do to replace alcohol? Or is it something different?
I think initially the products that we wanted were for ourselves as an alternative to alcohol. It's I stopped drinking a few years back, and Travis similar. It's we wanted a product, that would still let us feel good, but without feeling worse later. So, I don't know if Brez was always intended to replace alcohol culturally, fundamentally. I mean, that's not really where the heart of it is. More so, it's I wanted a drink that I could drink that I would feel good with, that would allow me to connect with other people, celebrate, and find relief. And and connect with myself, but do so. And like, I think that desire to, you could even say get high, that desire to ascend, that desire to feel good, I think that's inherent to all of us. And I think alcohol is just one compound that you can do to do that. And sometimes that comes with a lot of consequences. And, so for us, I think we were building a solution for us as a replacement, as an alternative. But culturally, I think that a lot of people are cutting back on drinking or cutting it out entirely. I think people are waking up that there's a lot of other compounds out there that do really cool things. You can mix and match them, and you can blend them, and you can find what's right for you, and that experience might be better for you than alcohol is. And that doesn't, my gut though is, I don't think alcohol is gonna go out the window. I don't think functional beverage is gonna like kill alcohol. I think it's gonna be a creative addition. It's gonna shift some of the market. And I think ultimately, we're going to find ourselves in a much better world where we can go to bars and restaurants and lounges or clubs or record stores or whatever, and like everyone can drink whatever is right for them. And I think that is a world that I want to be part of, and I'm excited to help create.
You got to, yeah, I was actually gonna.
I think so all three of us don't drink alcohol, it seems, and I think that the nightlife industry, restaurants in general, are losing steam. I mean, I come from LA nightlife, and I'm coming to Miami nightlife, and less people are wanting to spend thousands of dollars on bottles. And so instead of not going out all together, now there's a substance that maybe we would never want to go to a restaurant, and now we want to go. There's a new substance in a familiar environment, and that's really how, I come from California. Hemp beverages are strictly illegal. You can't find them anywhere. You can't find them in a liquor store, and definitely not into a restaurant. So I think this is an opportunity that we're not replacing alcohol, but we're kind of livening up nightlife and hospitality again. Imagine going to a bottle service table and getting a liqueur bottle of Brez instead of a vodka.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you jumped in on that. And I think what this dynamic is that like the family is expanding, and the only thing I want to say about that is what's required is a mental shift on behalf of the venue owners, the alcohol distributors, to say like, we sell beverage. Like it's like, oh, we make money by selling booze, right? That's been like the thing. We sell booze, but make the shift. We sell beverage, and there's so many more expanding ways that can mean, and that's it really does reunite the family. Because when I stopped drinking 10 years ago, I just flat out stopped going to drinking places. Yeah. And so we're seeing that the environments that are bringing them in together are much more dynamic. They're much more diverse. It's a really beautiful thing to witness.
Hospitality is evolving, and so should your menu.
Totally. Yeah.
So we actually, the last panel talked about a lot of the regulations and stuff like that. So with a company the size of Brez, scaling and stuff, how do you guys deal with the different legislation that could come down? How are you able to, maneuver to pivot and stuff like that?
This is a great question, and one of my favorites. And okay, so I think about this a lot. So the general gist to frame this is in 2018 the Farm Bill passed, which is what legalized CBD. In 2020, 2021, people realized you can do Delta 8, and then they realized you could extract Delta 9 and some of these other cannabinoids, et cetera. So that made this legal market for cannabinoids, which is crazy that happened, but it happened, and we're all here now. So that's phase one, right? So since then, they've continued to try to do federal lobbying, and then on the state side, there's new state regulations that are coming out. The good news is that it's federally legal, so as the states continue to make regulations, you have this kind of superseding law that allows us to continue, which is exciting. But the state laws are all evolving very quickly. Places like Florida had a really nice bill that just got shut down. Tennessee just legalized some aspects but got rid of other aspects. Texas, so there's shifting regulations at all times. So how do we handle it? First and foremost, we try to create a menu of mediums, so that way we can sell a variety of our product in every location. And I think that this is the key thing that Brez is doing different, that we'll see, but will most likely make us the largest functional beverage in the world. I think is we're making a variety of what is the most efficacious yet safe functional bevs, social tonics products that we can sell in those states and regions, and then doing that at the same time across the whole nation. So then that allows us to like have a national brand, even though you have state variants or federal variants. So more obviously is like, I'm drinking Flow right now. I don't know if you guys have tried Flow, but it's super cool. It has cacao, lion's mane, black seed, and L-theanine. Do you know how many laws there are about lion's mane, black seed, cacao, and L-theanine? None. And there's not gonna be, not in the near future, but there might be. So like it will come soon, and we're trying to get ahead of that. Like the faster that we can scale Brez, the faster we can grow the category, the more money we can create, the more resources we create, the more we can actually enforce and like integrate frameworks into the legal system that allow for all of us to thrive long term in the psychedelic community. Like, like this is how that game actually plays out. And I think, you know, and it's not like some secret mission, you know, it's just like we're making herbs available to people. You know, it's like, and like where that ends up, I think it will be a very exciting thing. But it's gonna take good actors, whatever the fuck that means. It's gonna take good actors, like doing good work, and we're committed to that. And like that's why we like coming to these events as well. It's like we don't want to lose that in the sauce of scaling. It's like this is the community that Travis and I were a part of. This is the community that we birthed this from. This is what, you know, this is, I still think it's just crazy to think about like how, I know people do this a little bit of like patting on their back, but it's crazy to think of like how ground level we still are within the psychedelic revolution. Like we're super fucking early, guys. Like I'm looking at like, you know, 4x6 photos of Alex Gray and Albert Hoffman and like this is just someone's personal collection of photos. It's like one day people will look back at this as one of the craziest times in consciousness evolution, and like we are here now. Crazy.
I was actually just asking the panel before because I don't know if you guys saw, but Texas just did like a really drastic change on all of their hemp, and I just asked them if they thought that on premise or if any of these retail channels is going to go backwards in any way, and they said no, and to keep going forward, which is really exciting because, you know, no, I don't think anyone realized or thought that Texas was going to do that. But these guys have been so helpful as well in terms of the compliance, because a lot of bars and restaurants, their biggest hesitation entirely around this category is not knowing what they're doing. They don't know why this is available. They don't know why they're allowed to do it. They don't know the difference between Delta 8 and Delta 9, and they really have no idea what overconsumption or tolerance looks like either. So that's, you know, along with all of the compliance, it's been really great to have great partners so that Darren is giving me updates every day on what's going on. And so it's something really special that can happen right now in Florida that can't really happen much other places.
Just 2 cents on that. It's like, that's the thing that I think we all have to be involved in, is like, what does the culture feel like when it's different? Like, cause like it's shifting, right? Like we're doing things like this. There's people selling mushrooms downstairs. Like, you know, we're going to bars and restaurants where we can get high. Like, so what does that feel like? What is that like? How do we train the bartenders? How do we train the owners of these establishments? What does insurance look like? Like, these are, you know, the nice thing about THC beverages as a vehicle is it's a really good baseline vehicle for that alternative beverage future. Because it's very familiar, people are generally aware of it, it's been around for a long time, it's very safe, it's very adaptable. So, but I think like the work that you're doing is super important, because there's like with this shift, we have to kind of like train and educate people, and like, you know, one thing I think we've been successful at Brez is like education through attraction. And I think that this is actually the best way to do it. And I think the psychedelic community does this fairly well. It's like, if you can attract people to the community, to the product, to the environment, to the idea, like it's less of a hurdle to teach them because they want to know. You know, it's like you want to know how to participate. So that's, we spend a lot of time in that.
So you mentioned attraction. I guess, where have you guys seen the most traction? Has it been like direct to consumer online? Has it been going to the bars or is it going into gas stations and things like that? Because we kind of see a pretty wide spectrum of distribution for the hemp beverages. Where are you guys seeing like the most traction?
Yeah, great question. You ask great questions, dude. So most traction, so initially Brez started primarily direct to consumer. So we sold on e-commerce and online. That allowed us to scale up and into the community really quickly. It also allowed us to like broadcast a message. It's like, here's an alcohol alternative, here, you know, it's legal, things like this. And so that was really important for us at the beginning. Today, we're actually nearly half retail now, which is crazy because that was only like 2.5 years. It's 2 years and 2 months, I think, now. You know, I mean, like, so the first year was pretty much all D2C. We did like $1.5 million. The second year was probably 80% D2C, 90%, which was 2024. That year we did like 28 million in sales, which is crazy, which is like 9 million cans. And then, and like, that's weed that we're shipping across the country. You know? And like, this is how we do it, guys. And then we're trying to double that this year, and then now with a lot of these alternatives, but now it's like 50% retail in the last couple months, which is great because like with the changing regulations, some states are trying to outlaw THC direct to consumer, which is like the most criminal thing you can think of because it means like I cannot sell my products to you. I have to go through you to sell to you, which is like a cartel, you know? It's like, so anyway, so we're trying to like hedge that by playing in these few different the roles, but and so part of that, like, you guys will get a kick out of this. Like, this is the community, dude. I always want to tell these things too. So like Flow is our non-infused, no THC blend, right? So we have 2 more non-infused THC blends coming out in just like a week, which is gonna be sick. Sprouts is gonna carry all of them.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. They're not gonna carry THC yet, but we're getting them like functional, adaptogen, feel-good shit on the shelves at Sprouts and like Whole Foods and the Target comes. Like, so this is how I think you shift. I think this is how we do it. Like, and like we have to be very careful. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not this willy-nilly, you know, gas station flipping shit that people kind of like poster us as or poster other brands like us as. So anyway, I think the key is like we look for ways to make efficacious, safe products that will help people feel better, that will help them heal, and that will allow them to expand. And I think that once those pathways are open, kind of like what happened with the Farm Bill, I think it's really hard to close them. Like, and it's like once Target's selling feel-good beverages, it's like, okay, now we're here.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
I also just want to add that on-premise is still, you know, for the most part, still pretty much untapped.
Yeah.
It's a really big carry to go to all of these mom and pops, bigger groups, restaurants, hotels, events, and convince them to bring on a program like this. So I think I was just going to add that I think that beverages will do super well on premise, but it just hasn't even really gotten there yet, which is why I'm trying to do it.
What kind of feedback do you get from the owner, from the people you're trying to educate? What do they say? Are they really like clueless? Are they you know, like?
Most people, I'll use the standard hotel in Miami Beach, for example. They're like super excited to roll this out, and they're one of my first clients, and they have been looking for alternatives to alcohol for quite some time. They already do some cannabis events. They're fully outdoors. This is like right up their alley, but they're clueless on education. And most brands, you know, Brez is all over Florida, but most of these brands are not in Florida, and there's no real distribution for them to get here just yet. And then on top of that, a lot of these bars and restaurants are looking to maybe carry 1 to 3 of these spirits and liqueurs. Think of a vodka versus a tequila and the effects. There is a brand called Grav, and I speak to them often because they are made by true cannabis connoisseurs, and their liqueur tastes like cannabis. If you want to cater to your consumers who are, you know, stoners or want that cannabis taste, that is a really great product. So it's not really just one brand that I think is going to like come in and take over. I think having multiple brands with different effects, different onset times, and different flavor profiles really helps.
Can I ask some?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think that's actually kind of like one of the most important jobs of all of us in this next phase is like integration into culture, to on-premise locations, like events, you know, like I think that's it. So a couple ways I think about this. I actually think that the milligrams of the THC, when nanoed, especially in smaller nanos, but which most are, is fairly comparable to ABV. So if you're thinking about like a 5% beer, 5 milligram THC drink's probably a little bit more than that in effect-wise, but it's not too far off. And the reason I say that is like, I think that the big questions are like dosage, like how much do you dose, how much do you drink? Do bars sell 2 milligram drinks? Do they sell 4 milligram drinks? It's probably like 2 milligram drinks, right? But like, so it's like, what are these different helping identify and then integrate these new drinks and like trying to help educate others about them and when to drink them, I think is really going to be the key to unlocking on premise. On premise is going to be the key to like real mainstream access. Like it's one thing for us to go to Total Wine or buy these drinks online and have them in our house or at your barbecue that you're throwing, but like we really have shifted culture once you can go to the bar or the restaurant or the football game and just buy a THC bev and everyone's just like clear and kind of aware of it. So it's not just that they're available, but it's like, what happens to the guy who drinks that? Or like, what does that feel like when I drink that? This is like what the collective has to kind of like get on the same page about, which we already are about alcohol. You know, it's like we're kind of, and the reason THC makes a good entry vehicle is because we're kind of on the same page about cannabis as well, but it's a little different. So I think that that's the big next job to do, is to, especially in the places that we get clear and effective regulations that allow for on-premise consumption. And there's some good states that have rolled that out. It's going to be really important that we activate those. We get the baseball stadiums, we get the venues. Like we're doing some movie theaters now. We're doing hotels, like the Standard, like Soho House started carrying these. Like we do a lot of like event activations. We did South by Southwest. We did coffee clubs. So like we're always trying to like, especially Lana, you just crush it, by the way, thank you. She's really a rock star. So just like we need to integrate and as fast as possible. And like the thing is, like as long as we continue to foster that momentum, it will just happen organically because like people like to tell other people about good things. You know, it's like, it's a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Something that's been touched on in the past couple minutes, want to hone in on here is there's a difference between my freedom and freedom, right? And on the advocacy side, Brez is really like using itself as kind of a battering ram. Like our growth curve is this like battering ram, and we're always advocating for other people's access, other brands to have freedom to access the market, and then people at large to have freedom. And I think that's a really important aspect to this whole thing. And like we want to expand shelf space for this whole category and this whole movement because we know that's just the best outcome for humanity.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I couldn't agree with that more. That's and not a lot of people realize that you're blazing the trail for others to kind of be on that shelf. So I've been, for the past 2 days, hearing, I walk around here and I hear everybody's, Cannadelic stories and feedback from everybody, and this happened and this happened. What's been like the customer feedback that you guys have gotten, or any kind of stories or anything, your favorite feedback that you've heard?
From our customers?
From your customers, yeah.
Dude, my wife will attest to me. She's really the backbone, by the way. Thank you, Sky. So I go to sleep reading our reviews. I don't know what it is. I think I really like affirmation. So I read them. They're great. But the coolest theme is definitely people who have abusive relationships with alcohol that find relief and space from it with Brez. That's it's definitely the most feel good information I get from our customers. And again, it's not because I think if people want to drink, they should drink. But I think if people have abusive and toxic relationships that they have a trouble getting space from, whether that's due to cravings or dependence or whatever, I think hearing that Brez has helped them solve that. And that's, I think, the most exciting part. It's not usually I now have stopped drinking, or I now one of the quotes I got recently was, for the first time in 20 years, I have gone a week without drinking.
Wow.
And again, it's less about whether the person wants to drink or not, but it's more so about if you're going 20 years with the inability to drink and you found an alternative beverage that makes you feel good enough, it scratches that itch enough, but does so in a way that doesn't put poison in your body, then great, And so that's my favorite. I think I guess that's the thing. It's we have a mission at Brez, which I know is fundamentally true, and Travis does. We say we're on a mission to reduce human suffering and maximize human potential, which is kind of grandiose. It's kind of like a big thing. Oh, we're here to save the world, and kind of. But I guess my part of that reducing and suffering is if you can give people conscious alternatives to abusive patterns and habits, you are really reducing a lot of suffering. So it's less about Brez is this magic reduction of suffering whatever. It's more so like it's like a totem to like get out of those weird patterns, those abusive, toxic patterns. And I think that is such a massive switch in people's existence. So then the next part of that, to reduce human suffering, maximize human potential. It's like when you take away some suffering, or you give people an alternative that lets them reduce their own suffering, what's the natural outcome? You can be more. Like you just are more. Like you can accomplish more. If you're not, to make it literal, if you're not like addicted to some drug and like abusing it often, and all of a sudden you've created some space, like your next things that you do is like you go back to your good patterns, you expand back into life. And so anyway, I say all that to say it's like I think we get a lot of feedback of people using Brez to like get off of or out of bad habits, and I think that is like I don't want people hooked on Brez. I don't think it hooks people. I never really hear about that. Like, and I listen, every night. but like you don't hear that. Like, but what I do hear is that interruption and that space that people get for themselves that allows them to see more of what they want and then create that. And I think that net outcome of that is very generative for me, for you, for all of us. Like that's the good thing for society.
I just want to add kind of on hemp beverages in general, or cannabis drinks in general. As we build out consumption lounges across the country, there's a lot of talk about edibles in these spaces and how they're hard to monitor the environment. You never really know when it's going to kick in for somebody. And these beverages have really kind of come in and almost eliminated edibles or having to have edibles in public places and provided a familiar experience that we're already used to. So most consumption lounges across the country are going to start sort of banning edible consumption because the beverage category is taking off and there is an ability to still have an edible form, I guess you could say. Totally. Just running into some, issues in certain states, like Florida is very open to these hemp beverages. California doesn't allow hemp beverages, and the cost of canning and bottling a low-dose beverage is very, very expensive in the supply chain. So the ability to have these alternatives so easily accessible is really changing the game.
Yeah, and I think that's a super important point. We use nano-emulsified THC, so there's much smaller particle size. There's ways to do that clean, there's ways to do that not clean. We do clean, like most people do these days, because everyone's trying to stay above board, but just pointing that out. But the nano is important because the nano makes the effect much faster acting and shorter lasting. So it's not necessarily like edibles are just kicking, our drinks are just kicking edibles out. Edibles are great, but the trouble is like on an on-premise setting, if you take a gummy or a chocolate bar or whatever, a pizza, like it can take 30 to 60 minutes to hit you, and then it lasts 3 to 6 hours. Brez you're going to feel in 5 to 10 minutes, and it's going to last 60 to 90 minutes. So it's a very much more familiar effect curve. Also, the low dose capacity allows you to have it in similar places that you could have alcohol. Not necessarily that we'd recommend that, but you could sell both drinks at a bar, where it's a little bit more challenging to do that with traditional cannabis products.
So you guys recently launched Flow, which is kind of a step away from THC and more into the adaptogens. Are there any other types of adaptogens that you guys are looking at, like other types of beverages that haven't hit the market yet that you're kind of playing around with or looking for in the future?
Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to be unique about this next wave of beverages, and with that functional mushrooms being a core, like a pillar in our beverages, is for people to be able to develop a unique relationship to one particular mushroom in that one beverage. And so, Flow has lion's mane, that's non-cannabis infused, and we have that kind of obvious bifurcation in our brand. It's feel-good tonics, but we have ones that are cannabis infused, ones that are not cannabis infused. So our OG blend has, and this is our extra strength, so this is 10 milligrams. And by the way, just so everybody knows, like we use all natural cannabinoids. Like I think it's totally full spectrum. I think everybody knows that by this point in this room. Yeah, no synthetic cannabinoids, all natural compounds. And sun-grown cannabis really is what it is. And so this is lion's mane. So OG has lion's mane, Flow has lion's mane, but the new blends, we're gonna have 2 that have reishi, 1 that's cannabis infused, 1 that's not, 2 that have cordyceps, 1 that's cannabis infused, 1 that's not. and then some other things like maca and ginseng and glycine and tryptophan and passion flower and ashwagandha and some other things. So yeah, we have we're really rounding out the different mood states. So we're filling out the primary colors, right? Like this social is yellow, it's happy, it's that social tonic, it's that yellow mood state. We're now doing red, uplifting, and blue, relaxing, calming, and perhaps maybe a hypnotic effect thrown in there as well. And so we're really excited about that. And the release is coming. It's June 3rd. And this is a public commitment. That's June 3rd. So yeah, so we're rocking on that, and it's been a blast, and yeah. So we want differentiation and uniqueness, and everything starts with that spirit of generosity. Like, how would I make a drink if my best friend was coming to my house? I would give them a generous dose. I would give them something efficacious that I know is going to work. They come, they say, geez, I got this ailment. Like, I've got something in my herbal cabinet that I think would be great. You give the proper dose, and that's how we approach beverage against the pre-established market economics of beverage, which is kind of habituated to cheap as possible ingredient. Cost reduction, yeah, you just maximize the profit, and it's just is infinitesimal amount of a thing and water. Yeah. And it's not a direct criticism of anyone, because there's a lot of great brands out there that do great things. But from our perspective, it's like, what would I give my family member or my best friend? And we're going to put that in a can, and we're going to share that with the world.
I don't know if you guys did this purposely, but the adaptogens as well, when I'm selling these products on site, I think a lot of people kind of tend to think that THC beverages or hemp beverages will make them tired. The fact that there's lion's mane in these products is, whether they think about it or not, they're going toward choosing it first because they believe that it will make them feel less maybe groggy, tired on site. Don't know if
Totally.
that's
No,
intentional.
it was. Yeah. Well, okay, so just quick side quest on this, because I think that this is super important with Travis. So, and this is important if you guys are making products as well. It's like, so how do you do this safely? It's like, how do you make things that are generous and efficacious, but you do so safely? And, so we think about this a lot. We have, so Travis kind of does a lot of the alchemical, botanic, herbalist, more anecdotal experience. He has a lot of personal experiences with these different compounds. A lot of our members of our team do, and then you kind of corely. So then we have another guy in our team, Dr. Preston Campbell. He has a PhD in pharmacology, and he comes and does kind of that back of the house analysis of all the compounds, the alkaloids that are in each of these compounds, and how they're interacting, and so we kind of take that two-sided coin to it. And I was gonna say Dennis isn't here. There's something that I learned from Dennis is a lot about the thing about psychedelic treatments or treatment centers or these retreats is there's kind of two trains of thoughts. I feel like one is you either have to be lost in the Amazon forest beyond all points of contact and get beaten by a shaman, or and there's the other side that's you need to be in a hospital bedroom with fluorescent lights and IV intravenous, and you need a bunch of different pills to cover all the side effects that they might cause. It's there's two different lanes. I think that the thing is, it's you have to integrate these ideas in order to properly to integrate into the future of psychedelic medicine. I think we have to push these things together. It's how do we safely preserve traditional practices? How do we I think it's combining those two, and so what we try to do is we try to take this anecdotal, personal, very cultural, very Reddit, very true to the plant and the community aspect, which I think Travis represents, and then we mix that with Preston, who really has much more of that scientific, sterile, linear path, and infusing those two, I think, is how you make really great products in the future, and that's what I would recommend to everyone else as well.
These guys answer my questions right before I'm about to ask them. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm believing more in this collective consciousness when there's a lot of psychedelics. It's really interesting. So I like I said, they've answered a lot of my questions. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for these guys or Sarah?
I do.
Any questions?
So first and foremost, you mentioned generosity, and that is something I was going to say, and thank you, because your generosity as a brand and putting yourselves out there and putting these cans in people's hands has really just exponentially pushed forward the knowledge and just the experience and the opportunity. So thank you for your generosity.
Thank you.
Travis, I've known you for a couple of years now, and you were the first person to. So my husband, every time I go to an event, is the frog guy there. No, babe, he's the Brez guy, and so thank you for the first person that ever gave me a functional beverage up in Tampa. So thank you for that, and to see your journey these last couple of years has been a beautiful thing to loosely be a part of. So thank you for that. My question is, can I know a little bit about the origin and the name of Brez? How did it come to be?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so origin. So my other company is called Lucid. It's a large cannabis social media advertising firm. So we do a lot of the advertising on social for CBD and THC brands. So that's kind of how I had a CBD and THC brand. I had a CBD brand, and then I had this advertising agency that helped a lot of the big brands, and then saw the market turning. Came to Cannadelic. So had this idea for this beverage. I was in Costa Rica, had this idea for this beverage. We were flying in a small plane over these little islands. The airplane had a little window. I was feeling the breeze, and I remember thinking, like, I want it to feel like that. I wanted to feel this, like, light, flowy, airy experience. And so the name felt appropriate. Also, I didn't want it to mean anything inherent. If you spell it the same way, it has encoded meaning. If we change the spelling, there's no real meaning to it. So, like, what does that mean? Like nothing, it's like whatever we decide it means. And so that's how I think about branding. And so that's where like the name came from. It was also short for breathe easy, because I had stopped drinking and I was using a lot of cannabis. My wife was like, you have this cough because you're smoking so much. Like, why don't you, it's like, okay, if you could breathe easy with Brez, you could, you could substitute cannabis smoking sometimes. So that's kind of like the idea origin. The product origin is more actually here. So I came to Cannadelic. Dennis called me and asked me what I was here for and what I was doing. And I spoke it on a mic. Travis overheard that I was looking for people to help me formulate a beverage, and came up to me. He was like, "Dude, this is some nano emulsified lines, man. No one's ever worked with this shit. This is first of its kind." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, that's my guy." So then he came back, and like some of this, speaking of like believing in the collective consciousness, so much like serendipitous type things had to come to play. Like when you're making beverages, typically you have to make like 80,000 of them just to like get in order, and they don't even want to give it to those guys because they don't really trust that you're going to keep making beverages in the future. So it's very hard to like get in the game. Travis just happened to have a machine at home that it could make 200 beverages at a time, so like that worked out. It was just a lot of, there's some funny stories with me and Travis there. Like, I was like, okay, it has to, my grandma used to make this lemonade, and I thought the beverage needs to, because we only wanted to make one flavor, like, and we still really only have the one core flavor for the OG thus far. I was like, I want it to be like mainstream acceptable enough and not offensive enough where most people could like it. Some people might not, but most people could. So I was like, Grandma's Lemonade was kind of like the idea there. And then I told Travis I wanted like lemon basil. So Travis made this, and I'm like, I wanted an indica. I don't want any sativa. I don't want any headiness. I want to be paranoid when I'm drinking this. I want to feel very rooted. And so, dude, Travis made this drink that was like lemon basil, tasted perfectly like lemon basil, but that was a terrible idea of a flavor from me. And then he put like myrcene in it, and like I didn't realize how powerful Travis was of like a alchemist, of like an herbologist. Like he like nanoed this myrcene that was like very pure, which is an indica terpene, if you're unaware of that, and he emulsified that, and he had these other THC blends that were super. So you drank this thing, and like within literally seconds of drinking it, it felt like you just got hit by a train, like a pleasant train, but it was like, whoa. I'm like. So it was a lot of just iterative work like that that we went through, and eventually, it was. I'm very, very, very grateful to Travis and his contribution to this whole thing, because we wouldn't be here without him. Dude, you're so special, for real. And he also it was like that's the thing about scaling and these synchronicities, and kind of like my advice I'd give as an entrepreneur, and if you're an entrepreneur in this community, is like be super open to not knowing how it's going to unfold, and like super open and comfortable. Like, I think the most magic word is not alakazam, it's I don't know. It's like when you don't know, you leave the space for the infinite of possibility to occur. I'm like, whoa, like that's what magic happens, I think. And so then Travis and I, like, he made 200 cans, and then his neighbor happens to own an emulsification lab, and we can emulsify other ingredients there and play around with that. And like, it's just like, being open to these unique possibilities, I think, allow for really cool and powerful things to happen. So yes, that's where the name came from.
Well, that was a great start. That was a great question. Is anybody else?
I am a brand ambassador for Brez, and
Thank you.
of course, and the immediate feedback is I just take it wherever I go, and I go to a lot of places, and I just take it with me. I'm just like, oh, and then I'll take photos, and like, so the simplicity of that, I'm extremely grateful for. And then my question itself is like, can you give any of the followers, or first question would be, which social platform is best to reach? Have you seen?
Best for us to reach customers.
Yeah.
Okay, so for ads, definitely Facebook and Instagram. Instagram mainly. For recently, we've done Twitter and Snapchat, which has been okay, but Facebook and Instagram for ads themselves. LinkedIn, I think, is actually a super underrated platform. Like, you can get a lot of reach on LinkedIn. You can tap into a lot of communities. Like, as far as organic content's concerned, especially if you're like running the business, or it's like we find a lot of success with LinkedIn. What else do we do? We do recently, like, Snapchat ads have worked well. What's nice about these platforms is you can make sure to target above age people on each of them. So you can, like, say 25 plus, whatever. So you can get that going into it. Yeah. So those are kind of like the main platforms that we've been using.
How do you deal with the regulations on those platforms and, getting stuff taken down, knowing what you can and can't post, and kind of like the fluidity of all that?
It's such a bitch. There's no way around it. I mean, like, let me rephrase that. There's lots of ways around it. It's kind of a cat and mouse game at the end of the day, though. Like, on the way here, our Spirit launch video got taken down on Instagram, which is like, I don't even care that, like, a post got taken down, but I care, like, it's like a memento of the history of the brand. It's just like being removed by this, big brother, like, and it's just so annoying. So on advertising, if you don't mention CBD and THC, use a landing page before the main page. Sometimes you can just use like an age verification page. So it's like 21 plus, click over. Just don't mention THC and CBD in the ad. Don't mention THC and CBD on the landing page. That's usually sufficient to keep your account healthy if you're doing advertising. Like, if you have a bunch of rejected ads, overturn them, turn them into approved ads by changing them or whatever. So it's like basic things like that. I've posted some YouTube videos if you're trying to advertise a cannabis brand or a psychedelic brand. Those are kind of like the key things, is like, don't say what's in it, but describe what's in it. The other thing is, like, this is policy, not law. These are different things. Like, it's one thing, I don't encourage you to do anything illegal, but like, these platforms create policies that are, I don't know. So it's like, you decide where your lane is on that, but it's not illegal to advertise cannabis on social media. It's certain ways are against our policies, certain ones aren't. So I would do that. I also, on organic posting, I try not to mention THC and CBD, and I just try to stick with just like other things. I think this is also something that people get caught up on, is like, yes, we're all selling cannabis or THC, but like, we're not all really selling the same cannabis and THC. It's kind of like all very different. Like, you go downstairs, like, there's all kinds of different products that do kind of different things. Even the mushrooms and it's like all these compounds are doing. So like, we get so caught up, I think, in this buzzword of like, I need to say weed, like, I need to say THC. It's like, if you focus more so on like what that product is doing, and you sell that idea, like, Brez is a next-gen social tonic that's going to create an uplifted, euphoric, and enlightening experience that you'll feel within minutes and goes away with an hour and a half. Would you like to try one? But I never said cannabis there. I never said THC. I didn't say mushrooms. I just told you about the idea of what it does, and that is what it does. And like, I'm not telling you to don't tell people what's in your drinks, but like, when you're talking about social media, when you have to like get an initial post to get people to the next stage, that's a good way to do it, or a good way to introduce products, and then tell people like, oh yeah, we use microdose cannabis and mushrooms. We use blah 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 blah. So that's kind of how we go about it.
That was my sneaky way of getting tips from the Lucid guy. Does anybody else have any questions? I'm gonna go with Marissa first.
Yeah, Marissa with Psychedelics for Climate Action. You guys have seen our launch, and we do love Brez. I love how much growth you've had in such a short amount of time, and so I really appreciate all you described about like your social strategy. And but what would you say? And I know you do a lot of like organic supporting of events, letting people try the product, but there's a lot of other products on the market that don't grow as fast. And so I'd be curious, like, if
like why? Like,
Yeah.
what's the secret?
It's like the short answer is that it's a lot of variables all coming to play at once. Like most anything, like if you look back at any time you've won in life or succeeded in life, is it really one thing? You know, it's like it's kind of this whole group of it's all Travis. It's,
I was saying it's hard.
it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's all me. It's all me, guys. Yeah.
So it's the convergence of variables, right? Okay, so I think that's one. Now let me try to describe it how it happened for us. I think it's different for everybody. I think it's always it's a big bang, you know. It's like it's always a convergence. But I think there's two things that make a business successful: innovation and distribution. In our case, innovation and distribution. Like I knew how to get a message out. He knew how to make a great product. Those were probably two of the key factors for Brez that really allowed that to happen. So for us, it was like I knew Lucid, my other company that you mentioned, is the largest cannabis social advertising agency. So we do a lot of advertising of cannabis brands, and I've been doing that for 6 years. So I knew how to advertise cannabis products better than probably most people out there today. And I also saw that this market moment was happening where people are like we timed it really well is another way you could say that. It's like the market was shifting, people were drinking less, cannabis beverages were a new but on the rise thing, people had heard of them, but they weren't that popular yet. So we were able to time really well. And Travis really formulated an incredible fucking product. Like if you've tried Brez, right? So it doesn't hit the same as these other beverages do. I like the other beverages, but I also know Brez is different. I prefer it, and so I think that's a key aspect is like we were able to get the idea of the category to people first in a lot of ways through digital advertising and social media. What we introduced to them was a very quality product, and so then even when they go and try other products, because Brez was kind of expensive, it's still kind of pricey. We just recently brought it down. Trouble is Travis uses really expensive ingredients, and I want to distribute through e-commerce, so challenging vehicles, but good outcome at the end. So anyway, so I guess my point there is that was it was being able to kind of hit the timing, the right product, the right medium of distribution, getting into retail second and quickly. But I guess my point is because we introduced it to so many people for the first time, and because we were able to create so much awareness in the mind, even if it's not on the retail shelf wherever you're at, you could try other products and you'd go back to Brez and you would measure those other products against Brez. And that allows for like some staying power that I just don't think anyone else has right now. And I don't think that, I'm not saying that's like forever, but I do think that that's why we kind of are scaling faster. It's like, it's a great product that took the attention sphere. So then when you do try other things, you already kind of have a reference point. And I think I think that's one factor of why we grew so fast. We'll see too, dude. Like it could keep going. Like, you know, like we scaled a lot from this year, last year, but so like if you look at beverage companies throughout history and how they've scaled, Brez is like fucking up there. Like it's like in the 1 or 2 spot right now of like fastest growing beverages of all time. Like I think it's Monster Energy, Poppy.
We're in a unique potentiality zone to like perhaps break some records in terms of growth, just beverage in general. But you know, aside from like our timing and our moment and our convergence, I think all those things manifest because of our heart, because of our love and just care. And I will say that for other brands that are launching that might not have that same exact moment or window of timing, like I've seen other brands that launch and you can just really tell like these people love what they do. Yeah. Like and that I think is a really core ingredient, is just like really obsessive love and care for the truth and for a good product. And there's other people who are doing that, and there's always moments, there's always windows for new growth trajectories to enter, and that's like the laws of nature are set up for that infinite expansion. So yeah, I mean we definitely, like all the things he said, I think it's love, it's, you know, and
well, they kind of converge, you know. It's like when you're really like, I think that's the other thing too, is like, you know, Lucid had made me a little bit of money. Travis was beyond money. So it was never really about just like making cash for us. Like, it was always just about like creating the product that we actually wanted personally. Like literally, that was what it, and still is today. It's like, what do we want to do? Like we want to go and have these beverages that feel good in different variety of ways, and like so it's, I think it's like, when you truly have like you have that heart-centered direction, you have that love in mind, you have service to humanity as the goal, like you know, that becomes like an infinite power source for everything else. So it's like all those like technical aspects, it's like those are required to succeed. Like don't be fooled. There is a business here, but it's like, but like, how do we orient that business, and like what determines the rate of its scale? I actually think that there's a level of like personal development that is required for rapid scaling, and that like if you can't keep developing yourself personally fast enough, the company and in fact probably the times that we slow down is that, like, it's like, and so then what do you do about that, right? Like you have honest conversations, you try to keep it real, like, and it's like it's a lot of energy when you're scaling like this. Like it's millions of dollars, it's like 16 million cans in the last, like, and it's a very physical thing. Like you can fill this whole room with pallets of Brez that are just in our warehouse right now. Like, it's like, it's hard to keep that center, but like, that's also why we try to be here and do these things. And like, it's like, when, help us not lose that over time, please.
As someone who doesn't work for Brez on the stage, I want to say that I work with pretty much every other hemp brand in the market that's doing well or that's trying to expand nationally. And I do believe that good leadership obviously starts at the top, and it goes to say that you're probably your previous experience, and it's really easy to work with these guys, and it's not like that with most other brands. So I know you guys have all these reasons as to why, but I think it comes down to the two of you as well.
Well, and just one thing real quick. Like our team is amazing because that like this was, we had this core group, like, and some other of our partners as the core kind of initial group, but our team really has then been magnetized to that vision and then taken it on, like taken ownership of that vision and that spirit, and they do a lot of those technical elements, and luckily we've hired some amazing people, and so our team is really like helping us expand that vision and that accountability feedback loop of just being honest with each other and trusting each other enough to have those like difficult moments, and so that's a huge part of it.
Well, that kind of ends our time up here today. It couldn't have ended better than that, and I cannot express how thankful I am that you guys agreed to come on and talk about your story, and Sarah, that you agreed to be on this panel, because I thought your perspective was really, really valuable in this conversation. And I am so impressed by the growth of the brand. If you had told me you were going to create this beverage and at this price point and people were going to buy it, I would be like, you guys are nuts. But you guys really pulled it off, and it's inspiring to me, and I'm just really happy that you guys were here, and thank you for doing this, and thank you guys for being here.